You ever have a day where you just know something is about to go sideways, even though you did everything right? Yeah, that was Ernest Claiborne's day. Picture this. It's 4:15, the Georgia sun's low and sticky, and old Ernest steps out of Carter's barbershop on South Magnolia. The guy's 64, moves a little slow, but he still looks like he could straighten your spine if he had toe-broad shoulders, denim jacket with old army patches sewn right in, boots worn thin for miles he stopped counting a long time ago. He's just trying to enjoy his retirement quiet days. Familiar faces, maybe a little gossip about the high school football team or who's running for mayor. The kind of life you come back to after you've seen too much of the world. Thing is, towns change, but the way folks look at you doesn't always catch up. Ernest passes the old records building, paint peeling like bad sunburn. The pharmacy's closed for good, but people are supposed to stay the same, right? He's walking home, minding his business, when a police cruiser rolls up behind him, windows so dark you'd think they're hiding the Ark of the Covenant in there. Ernest doesn't even look, just keeps moving because he knows how it goes for a black man alone on the sidewalk in Macon, Georgia. Don't stare, don't flinch, don't act like you've got anything to hide. But then the tires screech real dramatic like some bad TV cop show, and two officers step out. Both white, both young, one built tall and stringy, the other short with that look like a guy who gets off on bossing folks around. "Hey, sir, can we talk to you for a second?" The tall one says it, all polite. Ernest, keeping his voice cool, just lifts his hand a little, palms out. "What's the problem, officer?" They say someone called in about a guy loitering behind the Rite Aid matches his description. Ernest almost laughs. "I just came from the barber shop. Haven't even set foot near the Rite Aid." The short one, grinning, asks for ID. "Now, you know what's up?" Ernest's hands move, slow, no sudden moves, no attitude. He gives them his license. Clean as a whistle, nothing to hide, even has his veteran's card poking out the back. They don't hand it back, though. The tall one keeps it. "We're just going to do a quick check." "For safety." "For safety," Ernest repeats, almost like he's tasting the words. 22 years in the Army, came home to this street. Ain't bothering nobody. The short one sneers. "Well, now you're bothering us." And that right there, that's when you know this is about power, not the Rite Aid. They make him walk over to a telephone pole at the corner. Two people across the street pause, but no one steps in. That silence, man, it's old, heavy, keeps folks alive and scared at the same time. "Why are you taking me over there?" Ernest tries to keep it level, but the short one's already grabbing his arm. Ernest doesn't fight back, doesn't raise his voice, just lets them lead him. Because he's done the math, and there's no version of this where he fights two cops and walks away in one piece. They stand him against the pole. "You say you serve?" "Retired," Ernest says, correcting him. The short one grins, "So you know how to follow orders." That hits a nerve. Ernest had folks try to shrink his whole life down to obedience before over there, and right here in his own country. He asks if their body cams are on. The tall one taps his chest. "Of course." "For our protection." "Good," Ernest says, meaning it. They don't cuff him, not at first, but then the short one pulls out zip ties. Not even real cuffs, just plastic ones, like he's handling crowd control at a parade. "You can't be serious." "Just making sure you're not a threat," the short one says, playing innocent. Nobody steps up. Nobody's filming. He gets his wrists zip-tied behind the pole, and then here's the kicker. A short one pulls out his phone and snaps a photo. "Smile," he says, laughing. Ernest stares at the ground, jaw clenched, not from shame, but from a kind of bone-deep anger. He's not scared, he's tired. Tired of how easy it is for guys like this to humiliate someone for fun. "You think this is funny?" he says. The tall one shrugs. "My uncle always said you folks like to play the victim." The short one chimes in. "You'll go home, tell your grandkids, make it a story." "I don't have grandkids," Ernest says flat. "Maybe if you weren't such a smart ass, you would." That's when something inside Ernest shifts. He memorizes everything, their faces, their words. 5 minutes pass, then 10. No backup comes. No report. They're just killing time. Finally, they let him go, drop his ID on the sidewalk. "You're free to go," the tall one says, bored already. Ernest rubs his wrists, says nothing, walks away to us and go home, though. He knows this isn't over. He sits on a bench near the courthouse, mind racing, and finally calls his son. That's the twist, right? Ernest's son, Julian Claiborne, is the new interim police chief, the guy these two idiots have never met. Julian answers quick, voice clipped and tense, all cop. Ernest tells him straight. They zip-tie me to a pole for fun. Long pause. Where are you? Julian asks. Courthouse bench. Who were the officers? Ernest can't say, just remembers short and loud, tall and hollow-eyed. Did you resist? Son, I'm too old to resist anything. Sit tight, Julian says. Don't do anything. I don't need a ride. Ernest says, I need you to look into this. Julian already knows. She pulls the body cam footage up himself, finds everything. The mocking, the laughter, the damn photo. He watches it twice, jaw locked, every muscle tight, then quietly stands, grabs his badge, and heads to the station. Because tomorrow, someone's answering for what they did. Next morning, department's buzzing, but Julian walks in like a thundercloud, no small talk, just business. He calls everyone into the meeting room, even Roth and Fenwick, the two geniuses from the night before. He cues up the footage on the big screen. Nobody needs an explanation, and images do all the talking. The photo pops up, and Julian drops the hammer. That man is my father. The room goes dead quiet. He calls out the officers directly. You zip-tied a 64-year-old Army vet to a pole, mocked his service, took photos for a joke. Thought nobody would care. The excuses come, but Julian isn't having it. You didn't hurt him? Then why no report? Why no call to dispatch? No answers, just faces going pale. He hands out suspension letters right there, badges and weapons on the table. He walks out before anyone can say a word. But this isn't fears, no instant justice, no applause. Julian goes back to his office, tired, more son than chief, for a minute. He calls his dad. You all right? I'm fine, Ernest says, but you can hear the old hurt in his voice. It's not enough. No, Ernest agrees, but it's a start. Julian knows it's more than two bad apples. He asks Detective Selena, Jarohi's most trusted officer, to dig into Roth and Fenwick's past. Keep it off the books, he says. If they got this comfortable, someone let them. Internal Affairs finds a string of complaints, all buried force. Humiliation, the same pattern. Julian brings Roth and Fenwick back in, this time with Selena and a lawyer from City Hall. He lays out the files, the photos, every ugly detail. You're not unlucky, he says. You're a problem this department tried to ignore. He fires them, right then and there, and makes it clear this is just the start. Selena's face says it all. This won't be quiet. Word gets out, like wildfire, first whispers at Bellamy's diner, then the local paper, then the town council meeting, where Julian stands up and lays it out. If this can happen to my father, it can happen to anyone. He announces big changes civilian review board. Every old complaint getting reopened, every badge re-earned, even his own. The town splits him, folks clap him on the back. Some say he's out for revenge, some officers grumble about morale and blame him for rocking the boat. But Julian keeps pushing policy changes, audits, random body cam checks. A reporter asks if it's about his father. It's about everybody's father, he says. Mine just pulled back the curtain. City Hall makes his job permanent. That night, someone leaves a thread on his windshield. Keep pushing and you'll end up like your old man. Julian keeps it not out of fear, just as a reminder. He visits his dad, brings dinner, and they sit together, sharing hot sauce and old stories, both knowing the cost of doing the right thing. A few weeks later, at a family event in the park, Julian steps up, not as a chief, not as a son, just as a man who's tired of the old silence. He tells the crowd, my father did everything right, stayed calm, complied, and still got humiliated. Survival without dignity ain't living. He fires the officers, not because Ernest was his father, but because if they only care when it's personal, the system's already broken. Afterward, an old vet shakes Julian's hand. Took guts, he says. News comes in, oversight board approved, investigation start. Change isn't finished, but it started. And for the first time, maybe ever, folks are talking openly about what comes next. So, here's where I leave you. Is Julian right? Or did he go too far? Can you fix a broken system from inside? Or is it always going to fight back? Tell me where you stand, because the next Ernest Claiborne out there, he deserves more than silence. If this hit home, share it. Talk about it, because the truth's only as strong as the folks willing to carry it forward.